بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Alright, this is lesson number 7 from At-Tuhfah Al-Wasaabiyyah, explanation of Al-Ajrumiyyah. And inshallah today, inshallah, we'll complete the alamat ism, inshallah. Alright, so he said the next alamat is, he said, قال المؤلف رحمه الله حفظه الله حفظه الله, because he's still alive. وأما al. And here you say al, you do not say alif wa lam ta'rif, you say al, because the asl of it is a harf. Now, there's two different ibaras. You have the ibara of the Kufiyin and you have the ibara of the Basriyin. And the Basriyin, on their opinion, that al is a harf, and just like any harf, you would pronounce it as the harf. Like you would say min, you would not say mim wa nun. You would say min, you say ila, you say an. Again, you want to say ayn wa nun, you say an. So the same thing here, you would say al, as it's a harf, it's considered a harf. Alright, so وأما أل فنحو قولك في رجل وفرس وحارث الرجل والفرس والحارث. Alright, so here he gives you three different examples. Alright, the first example is a rajul, and he gave the three examples nakira, and then he put al on them and to make them ma'rifa, just to show that these are all asma. So you have rajul, which is a man, wa faras, which is a horse, wa harith, which is a zari', is a person who works in the fields, like growing plants, harith. Here are rajul wal farasu wal harithu. And if you say abul harith, abul harith, it means an asad. It means an asad. Okay, so but here harith, assuming that he's talking about the meaning of the word in the Arabic language, which goes back to haratha, which means to zara'a. Alright, so zara'a. So harith here, assuming that that's what he means. The al can also be entered onto a name, but the names generally they already have an alamiyah. So the al on top of a name is already ziyada. Like you see, like Al Hassan, Al Hussein. This is just a ziyada, because Hassan, Hussein it's a name, so it already has alamiyah. But I'm assuming that he means here a zari'. A zari', it means the person who cultivates the fields. Then he said, وقال تعالى والبيت المعمور والسقف المرفوع والبحر المسجور. So here, والبيت, alright, the word bait, of course, is an ism. It will be دخول الألف واللام and الخفض and حرف القسم. Because here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala أقسم بالبيت. والبيت, al-bayt here, it comes from the word bata yabitu, and bata yabitu, it means to stay the night in a place. So you say bata laylahu fi bata fi baytihi, أو bata في الفندق, أو bata fi bayt sahibihi, whatever the case may be. So this is word bata yabitu. And then it could also to mean to spend the night doing something. Like for example, if you say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran in Surah Al-Furqan, وَالَّذِينَ يَبِيتُونَ لِرَبِّهِمْ سُجَّدًا وَقِيَامًا. وَالَّذِينَ يَبِيتُونَ أي يقضي ليلتهم. So all they spend the whole night لِرَبِّهِمْ to their Lord, سُجَّدًا, and prostration, وَقِيَامًا, and standing. So basically they're in salat. Alright, they're standing in salat. And this is the way that they spend their night. So this is also bati yabitu, to spend the night, to spend the night in a certain state. Okay, so he said, well, bayt al-ma'mur. So bayt al-ma'mur comes from the ism maf'ul from amara. So amara is generally it's used for if the house is frequented and lived in, like so there's a lot of I guess you could say activity. So if you say, like for example, عمر المكان بالناس كان مسكونا بهم. Alright, so that means that this house is lived in with people, and the people they come and go in the house. So it's ma'mur. And of course this reference of Bayt al-Ma'mur is a specific reference, obviously not talking about a specific house. And it was explained in a hadith in the Musnad of Imam Ahmed and Anas ibn Malik رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم البيت المعمور في السماء السابعة يدخله كل يوم 70,000 ملك ثم لا يعودون إليه. So every single day, this is the Bayt al-Ma'mur. So you have, it's in the seventh heaven, the seventh sky. يدخله كل يوم, every single day, it's 70,000 ملك. So 70,000 angels, they go into this Bayt al-Ma'mur, and then they worship, they do whatever, carry out the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يَعُودُونَ إِلَيْهِ, and then they don't come back to it because of the amount of the malaika that go into this Bayt al-Ma'mur, that those 70,000 that went in, they never, like, لَا يَعُودُونَ إِلَيْهِ. Alright, لَا يَعُودُونَ إِلَيْهِ. Allahu musta'an. So this is the Bayt al-Ma'mur. So the same thing, al-Ma'mur is an ism, because of, you got so many different, you have Dukhul al, you have al-Khafd. Alright, and also because it's connected with the qasam, so you also have al-Harf al-Qasam alayh. Was-Saqafi al-Marfu'. Saqaf here, it refers to the roof, and it says was-Saqafi al-Marfu', so the raised roof, or the raised ceiling or roof, and of course this is referring to the sama, because it's like the roof or the ceiling for the dunya, because you can't get out of this. There's no possible way that man can leave out of this earth until after death. So if anybody thinks that these kuffar are going to get up in a rocket and leave this stratosphere and go into outer space, or there's no such thing. I mean, outer space is, anyways, it's just a foolish terminology. Because the word space, and what they say in Arabic, al-Fada. Al-Fada, it comes from something that's just empty, like a void, Same thing with space. Space, you use it for something that's empty or void. There's nothing in that sky that is empty or void or created without purpose. So everything, in the seven heavens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, for malaika, and they're all, glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no such thing as a void where there's just nothing in it. So for them to even use this terminology of fada and space and all this, these types of terminologies need to be avoided. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it the sama, the sama ad-dunya, which is the sama that we're in, up until the end of this sky, and nobody can leave out of the sama ad-dunya. Nobody. Only one of creation of mankind, of man, that left out of the sama ad-dunya, and that's Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and nobody else is no astronaut or nobody else is going to do that. So everything that they said about that, going to the moon and doing all this, is all it's just a lie. And you can go back and check Shanqiti rahimahullah. He mentioned he actually talked about this in his tafsir Al-Wasaabiyyah. So Allah musta'an. So wasaqaf al-marfu' here, wasaqafi. So again we have dukhul al, we have al-khafd. We also have harf al-qasm, alright, which is from the huruf al-jar. So wasaqafi al-marfu' the same. Alright, so marfu' is the ism maf'ul from rafa'a yarfa'uhu raf'an. Alright, so to raise. So it's raised. Wal bahri al-masjur. Wal bahr. So any large body of water is called a bahr. Alright. Any large body of water is called, in the Arabic language, bahr. Alright, then later on, of course, they started making like a buhaira and all these, but any large round body of water is called al-bahr. Bahr al-masjur. Al-masjur, it means it's like a muqad. Muqad, it means like it's lit on fire. Alright. It can also mean that it's filled, if I'm not mistaken. And if that's the case, then it has the meaning of a mamlu'. Mamlu', and inshallah you could check Tafsir al-Baghawi and you see what he says. But the stronger opinion that it's muqad ani bin nar. Alright. Wal-bahr al-masjur. Alright. فهذه الكلمات, and all of them the same. All of them, they have the same alamat. From the first ayat to the second ayat to the third ayat, they all have dukhul al, they all have al-khafd, and they all have harfun, and dukhul al-harf min huruf al-khafd, which is the harf al-qasm. Wow. فهذه الكلمات ونحوها أسماء بدليل وجود ال في أولها. So as you see al in the beginning, وما دخول حرف من حروف الخفض فنحو خرجت من البيت إلى المسجد. Now he's going to go and talk about the حروف الخفض, going on to the ism. خرجت من البيت إلى المسجد. So here we see من البيت, so من البيت, so البيت here is مخفوض مجرور بحرف الجر. So that shows that it's an ism. And إلى المسجد, إلى حرف جر, المسجد مجرور بإلى. So also it goes back. It is as an ism. All right, and one thing that you need to focus on in the i'rab is that the jar wa majrur, and the same thing with the dharf, which the dharf, which is the dharf is a man with dharf makan, which is the actual name of it is the maf'ulun fihi. Is that it's idafa, right? It has it's mudaf. You have a mudaf and mudaf ilay with the dharf. These are what they call shibh al-jumla, and the shibh al-jumla, it doesn't function on its own. It's like a phrase in the English language, right? So the shibh al-jumla, it has to be connected to something. It has to be connected to a verb or something that does the action of the verb. So here we say kharajtu min al-bayti ila al-masjidi. So min al-bayti we say jar wa majrur wa alamat jarrihi al-kasratun dhahira fi akhirih, or you can say ala akhirih. wal jar wal majrur muta'allaqani bi kharajtu. And the same thing goes with ila al-masjidi. All right, because it's got to be, there has to be a ta'alluq. All right, jar wa majrur, it cannot stand alone. Like some people, whenever they do the i'rab of Surah Al-Fatiha, and they say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, and Alhamdulillah, let's just focus on that part. Lillahi, they'll say this is khabr mubtadi, jar wa majrur, khabr mubtadi, and that's not correct. This is ikhtisar. And the people, they want to they make it easier, but this is not correct, because the shibh al-jumla has to have a ta'alluq. So the actual terminology is alhamdu, which is a mubtada marfu' wa alamat rafihi dhammatun dhahira fi akhirih. Lillahi jar wa majrur muta'allaqan bi khabr mahdhuf, wa khabr mahdhuf wajib. Alhamdu wajibun lillahi, and wajib because it's an ism fa'il, and ism fa'il, it does the action of a fi'l. So like for example, you could say ana dharibun zaydan, ana dharibun zaydan, and you see zaydan is mansub, it's maf'ulun bih, and maf'ulun bih because of why? Because of the ism fa'il, ana dharibun zaydan. So this does the action of a fi'l. So anything that's either a fi'l or does the action of a fi'l, whether it's an ism fa'il, ism maf'ul, masdar, or whatever. Alright, well, inshallah, we're going to go through this more in al-Mutammimah, inshallah. So he said, وَأَمَّا دَخُولَ حَرْفٍ مِنْ حُرُوفِ الْخَفْضِ فَنَحْوُ خَرَجْتُ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ فَكُلُّ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَالْمَسْجِدِ اسم لدخول حرف الجر عليه، وهو من في الأول وإلى في الثاني. ولما كانت حروف الجر من علامات الاسم ذكر المصنف جملة منها، وكان حقها أن تذكر في مخفوضات الأسماء. So he said, because of the huruf al-jar being from the signs that this is an ism, he mentioned some of the huruf al-jar, and the ones that he mentioned are min wa ila wa an wa ala wa fi wa ruba wa ba wa kaf wa lam wa huruf al-qasmi wa ilwa wa ba wa ta. That's what he mentioned in the matan, and then he mentions them again later on in the al-maqfudat, but he mentions more of them. So, but now he only mentions some of them just to give an example of a certain huruf al-jar. And here Sheikh Ahmed ibn Thabit, he doesn't go into detail with these huruf al-jar. He'll explain it more in depth later on, because these are just examples. So he said فأولها من بكسر الميم وثاني إلى وقد تقدم مثالهما, which is خرجت من البيت إلى المسجد. وثالث عن ومثالها قولك رميت سهم عن القوس. رميت, rama, it comes from as to throw. Rama, it means to throw, but here it means to shoot, because it can mean to shoot or to throw. A sahma, which is an arrow, an al-qaws. Of course, the qaws, it refers to the bow, all right, the actual bow. So ramaytu saham an al-qaws. And here an, it has the meaning of mujawaza, because it jawaza al-qaws, it passed through it. الرابع على ومثالها قولك ركبت على الفرس أي علوت عليه. Okay, علوت على الفرس. Alright, so ركبت على الفرس, it means على, it means العلو. Alright, على الفرس. So ركبت, it means to ride. ركب, ركبت, يركب. على الفرس, I rode the horse. But here it means to mount it. If you say ركبت على الفرس, you could say that I rode on the horse or mounted the horse. Alright, الخامس في ومثالها قولك الماء في الكوز. الماء في الكوز. And a kuz is not the same as a kub. Kuz, it has a handle on it. It has like a handle. what they refer to as the udhun in the old Arabic language. له أذن يشرب فيه أو يصب منه. Alright, the kub, it doesn't have that. And kas, of course, is used for anything that's mal'an. Kas is only used for a glass if it's full. If it's not full, then it's called a zujaja. Zujaja, and this you can go back to fiqh al-lugha al-Tha'alabi, inshallah, and look that up. ومثالها قولك الماء في الكوز. So here, fi is a dharfiyah. It means that the water is inside of something, which the dharfiyah means to be inside of something. So like the same thing you say, like for example, the kuz is like a dharf for the mat, for the water. السادس رب بضم الراء وفتح الباء المشددة. رب ومثالها قولك رب رجل كريم لقيت. رب رجل كريم لقيت. And rubba here, it has the meaning, carries the meaning of a taqleel. Like rubba rajulan kariman laqitu is possible. It could happen. You know, it's not common. Alright, it's not common. السابع الباء ومثالها قولك مررت بزيد. مررت بزيد. الثامن الكاف ومثالها مثالها قولك زيد كالأسد. Alright, it's shibh. Alright, shibh. Alright. So Zaydun kal asad and shibh al asad. So this of course it shows that in certain characteristics of the asad, obviously not in the fact of being an actual animal, but in the characteristics, whether it's a shuja'a, you know, so he's very brave like the asad. So he says Zaydun kal asad. التاسع اللام ومثالها قولك المال لزيد. المال لزيد. It means that it shows that it's his milk, it belongs to him. You know, so you say, هذا كتاب لي. هذا كتاب لي. It's my book, you know, it's my possession, it's my milk. العاشر واو القسم ومثالها قولك والله لأجتهدن. والله لأجتهدن. اجتهد, it means to work hard. Alright, it's a بدل الجهد. Alright, and juhd, it means to like stress and pain, because when you do ijtihad, you have to put yourself through pain and discomfort, you know, to complete the job, to work, you know, so working hard is not in comfort. So if you're in comfort all the time, relaxing and chilling, then you're not a mujtahid. And then we're not talking about the mujtahid ijtihad and fiqhiyan. We're talking about the mujtahid ijtihad fi amal, ijtihad fi dirasa, ijtihad fi talab al-ilm. If you're doing it in comfort, then you're not a mujtahid. Mujtahid, it means a badal al-juhd, and the juhd, it means that you're working yourself, you're stressing yourself, and that doesn't mean that you put unnecessary stress on yourself, but it means that you go beyond what mediocrity is. You know, like a lot of people, they'll work, they get tired, and they stop and they relax. Then they work, they get tired, they stop and they relax. But you go past that and you continue to work until you're completely worn out, and that would be mujtahid. الحادي عشر باء القسم ومثالها قولك أقسم بالله لأكرمنك. So أقسم بالله. Alright, أقسم. So أقسم is the verb, and for the qasm, which is when you swear by Allah, you say أقسم بالله or أحلف بالله. أقسم بالله أحلف بالله. الثاني عشر تاء القسم ومثالها قولك تالله لا أصاحب الأشرار. لا أصاحب الأشرار. تالله لا أصاحب. المصاحبة, obviously to take as a companion, that you're always with that person. Al-ashrar is the plural form of shar. Okay, it's the plural form of shar, ashrarun. Here sharrun refers to evil people whose actions are not morally based or principled. Alright, so ashrar, people that are in disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the ashrar is the plural form of sharrun. Alright, فهذه الكلمات المذكورة بعد حروف الجر أسماء بدليل دخول الحرف الجار عليها. وسيأتي الكلام على حروف الجر في آخر الكتاب إن شاء الله تعالى. So he's saying that all of these words, all of these examples you see are asma because of the دخول الحرف الجر, because the حرف الجر is connected to it. Alright, and then like he said وسيأتي الكلام على حروف الجر في آخر الكتاب, that he's going to go into more detail about the حروف الجر in the last part of the book, and that's why we're just keeping it brief and just reading through this right now, inshallah. So let's try to finish this up with the tanbih, and Inshallah, I'll try to do this, inshallah, because I don't know if we got time. But tanbihat. Tanbihat, it means just something that you need to... tanbih is like a warning or an alert, something that brings your attention, because he wants to bring your attention to certain issues. الأول عبر المصنف بالألف واللام والأولى أن يعبر بأل. And he's talking about صاحب الأجرمية, that he used the word ألف واللام instead of using al, and it's is more befitting that he used al. لأن الكلمة إذا كانت مكونة من حرفين فأكثر عبر عنها بلفظها. So any word that's if it's made up of two or more letters, then it's said as a word. It's بلفظها, as the actual word itself, and not by the letters that it makes up. So فيقال هل وبل وقد ولا يقال الهاء ولام وكذا البقية. And this is what we spoke about earlier, so there's no point in going over this again. الثاني حروف القسم من حروف الجر، وإنما أفردها المصنف ليعلم أن القسم أي اليمين يعني الحلف لا يتأتى إلا بها. قاله الكفراوي. And الكفراوي he has a sharh of Al-Ajrumiyyah, which is probably one of the best shuruh of Al-Ajrumiyyah, and he actually did the i'rab of the matan before he went into the explanation. However, it is advisable that a person, if he were to sit down and read Al-Kafarawi, to read it with a person from Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, because he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I think there was like two maybe that I read, but two major mistakes in Aqidah in regards to the Asma wa Sifat. Not the Asma wa Sifat just, but also the Nafi Kalam an Allah Ta'ala, where they, because what they say is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't speak with a sound. So, and the same thing, you can find the same thing in the Tuhfah Saniyah. So these types of books is better, all books. When you're studying, you should study with Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. You should not study these books with the deviants and the people that are going, because they can slip in these shubahat, and unless Allah musta'an, you never notice it. You might never even come across it to notice it. So it's very dangerous. It's very, very, very dangerous for a person to study with these type of individuals, because the next thing you know, they slip these shubahat in, and Allah musta'an, next thing you know, you're Ash'ari. You don't even know it. So you got to be very careful, So whenever you take, هذا عم دين فانظر أما تأخذ دينك, so that's the main thing, this knowledge is religion, and you got to be very, very wary of who you take your religion from. And so whenever you're studying these types of anything, Usul al-Fiqh, Lughat al-Arabiyyah, you study it with Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and that way you get the correct understanding, because a lot of these groups, they went astray because of this, the language. They went astray because of the lack of understanding in the language. And then they want to teach you that misunderstanding of the language that they have. It's just like the people that went astray with the word istola. Istiwa bima'na istola. And they don't even understand it. They go back to the Lughat al-Arab and they understand what the word istola means. Then they understand how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala istola ala arsh. It means that the arsh belonged to somebody else before Allah. And what type of foolishness is this? And how is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to istawla ala ay shay min khalqihi, huwa haqquhu wa milkuhu. So these types of misunderstandings in the language, because they don't understand the language correctly, then Allah musta'an, but then they go and teach you that misunderstanding. So no, istiwa means ala al-arsh, bima yaliku bi jalalihi, and that's the aqeedah of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. You study that with Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. So Allah musta'an. So you gotta be very wary of that. Al-Kafarawi is like I said, it's a very, very good sharh, especially with the i'rab of the matan, but just be wary. All right, but he said huruf al-qasmi min al-huruf al-jar. So he's saying that the huruf al-qasm, which are the huruf that are used for swearing, which are the waw, the ba, and the ta, they're from the huruf al-jar. But the only reason why he singled them out is just to show. He said, وَإِنَّمَا أَفْرَدَهَا الْمُصَنَّفْ لِيَعْلَمَ أَنَّ الْقَسْمَ أَيْ يَمِينَ يَعْنِي الْحَلَفْ لَا يَتَأَتَى إِلَّا بِهَا. He wanted to show that the yameen, it only comes with these three letters, these three haruf, which is the waw, wa ba, wa ta. So this is why he singled them out. But other than that, they're from the huruf al-jar. Wallahu alam. And inshallah, we're going to stop here, and then we'll continue on from the next lesson from the thalith, inshallah, tanbihat athalitha. تنبيه الثالث اللهم المستعان إلهنا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك